Hello and welcome to another episode of Outtakes from the Mystics Reading Group. Today I'll be reading from The Practice of the Presence of God by Brother Lawrence of the Resurrection, a 17th century Christian mystic. As it happens, Brother Lawrence is the next mystic we'll be taking up and reading together in our Mystics Reading Group. I want to invite you to join us 5:30 p.m. on Monday evenings here at Good Shepherd Church. Come when you can, you're most welcome. And don't worry about not coming when you can't. You're welcome to do that too. Now, a little reading from The Practice of the Presence of God. One day in winter, as Brother Lawrence was looking at a barren tree stripped of its leaves and considering how in a little while these leaves would reappear, green, followed by flowers and fruits, he received a profound awareness of God's kindness and power that never left his soul since. With this awareness, he completely detached himself from the world, and it gave him such a love for God that he could not say it had ever increased during more than 40 years since he received this gift. So something happened to Brother Lawrence when he was 18 years old. He was walking down a road he'd no doubt walked down many, many times, past a tree that he'd probably seen many, many times, in winter, which he'd experienced it 18 times to that point in his life. But something happened to stop him that day. He stopped and he gazed on that tree and its bare limbs. And in that slender moment, God slipped in and revealed to Brother Lawrence that all things will be made new in due time. Indeed, the tree would sprout leaves, and then that blooms would follow, and then fruit would follow the blooms. All things would be made new. In this little simple, ordinary revelation, Brother Lawrence experienced the deepest depth dimension of God's kindness and power that he'd ever before experienced, and it was to a degree that never increased for the rest of his life, which means there was no deeper depth to go to. He saw it all. He then went on to live his life and went through the normal struggles, challenges, travails that we all do, being human. But through it all, he developed a practice that he called the practice of the presence of God, by which in a most ordinary way, all across the space of any given day, he made a gentle interior turn towards God, moment by moment. Sometimes he forgot to turn to God, and he didn't beat himself up about it or feel frustrated or guilty about it. When he remembered, he simply made that inner turn to God. Now, it's a very subtle movement, this practice of the presence of God, not unlike maybe paying attention to your breath for a moment and experiencing the inhale and the breath go down into your lungs, then the exhale. If you were to pay attention to your breath like that, you could do it in a subtle, silent, almost subconscious way. This is the same sort of move that made up Brother Lawrence's practice of the presence of God. As he was peeling potatoes in the monastery's kitchen, he would turn ever so gently to God and God's love in an interior way. Maybe in your life, if you were balancing your checkbook or feeding a bottle to your baby or walking into your office or opening a book to read and study for a lecture you were going to give or picking up a shovel to dig a hole, any of these ordinary activities and more, if you were to practice the presence of God in Brother Lawrence's rhythm, you would simply very gently turn in an inner way towards God and God's love. And then you would come from that turn back to the activity. And then over time, this would become a rhythm of life, a sort of flow that you engaged in. And you would forget to do it sometimes, or you'd be so caught up in your activity, rushing and hurrying about maybe, that you just wouldn't pay any mind to the presence of God. And that would be okay. It wouldn't be something to feel guilty about. It would be something you just remembered, and then gently return your gaze to God again. And over all your years, maybe this would become a rhythm of life for you. This is a little summary of the practice of the presence of God as developed by Brother Lawrence. Again, I invite you to take up the book, Practice of the Presence of God, on your own. It's marvelous. Also invite you to come join us on Monday nights, and we'll read it together beginning June 23rd. All are most welcome. The important thing for you to know is that God's love for you is endless, and you can turn into that love at any time, over and over again. This is the practice of the presence of God. I'll see you soon. Peace.